Awesome. We're so glad to be able to be here with you this evening. I want to take a second and just welcome all those who are watching online as well. We have tonight with us live via the internet, ladies from the Braden Center. Yes. We want to welcome as well those watching from the Droege House. Yes, absolutely. We are so honored to be able to spend our Friday with you. We really want you to understand that you are a welcome part of our service here. We're thrilled you're joining us. Please know you have people here who are rooting for you, who believe in you, who are praying for you, who love you. And so we're really excited that you get to be part of our experience this Friday. I know you guys just saw the little promo video, and I wanted to take a minute to talk about that. So we have here at Seven Hills Church a men's conference that is happening that will end up being on a Friday night here, September 30th. So we will not, unfortunately, have Freedom Night that Friday. If you haven't checked out the men's conference, please do that. It's going to be an incredible experience for men from all different backgrounds. You can go online and register for that. But we wanted to make sure you guys understood that we will not be meeting that Friday. So make sure that you make other arrangements to get into the community, to find your meetings, to make sure that you don't miss out on that. But then the following Friday when we come back, so not next week, like the video said, that was not correct. Next Friday after men's conference, on the 7th, we will have Jason the Great here. How many of you have seen him before? Any of you guys seen him before? Right, pretty much will blow your mind. So we will open the doors at 6:45 that night. He's going to do a great show for us. We'll head right from his show into our Freedom Night routine, and we'll still have our 12-step meetings afterwards. So there's going to be just a fantastic evening. I invite you to come on out, bring a couple friends. Jason the Great's always just a wonderful entertainer, and we always have a lot of fun when he comes. So don't forget that October 7th, we will all be here for that. So I have 5 children, 4 of who are in college and a high school senior. And at my house for the last year and a half or so, I've been having these kind of conversations with my kids about, okay, now that you're an adult kind of conversations, and talking over things like budgets and what's your plan for moving out, and are you, so we're looking at all these different things, and we're kind of defining, okay, as long as you're here, you do A, B, C, and I'll do X, Y, Z, and here's what you're expected to contribute to the household, and here's what I will contribute to the household. And just had some really kind of cool conversations, and my high school seniors talking through, okay, how much is the electric bill? How do they know, how do they know what to charge? And I'm like, I don't know, Duke just sends you a bill. And, I just know when you turn these lights off. And just having these really amazing conversations as they're starting to attach value and meaning to money, to the things that are paid and done. And my one daughter that's 18 now, been an amazing transformation in her shopping habits since she started paying for a lot of her own things. So we go to the register, this pile of clothes and jewelry and this and that, whatever, and I've got maybe a thing or two out, and I'm paying for mine, and then I'm done, and she looks at me, and I look back at her, and she looks at me, and I'm like, where's your card? She's like, oh, you're not buying this? No, ma'am. You work now. You're 18. So it's amazing how much that stuff starts going back. She starts pawing through it, figuring out, hey, maybe I don't really actually have to have this pair of jeans, this many shirts, this particular pair of boots. So she's realized she doesn't necessarily have to have what she thinks she has, now that there's a value and a cost attached to that. So she's learned to count the cost and put value on what things are worth in terms of how hard she's worked for that money, right? So the particular brand of this cologne or this shampoo or this whatever, all of a sudden I'm seeing she's clipping coupons and she's downloading apps, and it's just a fascinating transformation. But we all know this, don't we? We exchange our money, right, for goods or for experiences. There's a cost attached. We have to budget. We have to figure it out to balance things out. There's a lot of thought that goes into this most of the time. We know that if we want to see a movie, for example, or a concert or a show, that there's a cost of admission. So it's a choice we make. We can pay it and get in, or we cannot pay it and we don't get to get in to see the show or the movie or whatever it might be. And you know what? The same thing's true in life. That if we want a certain kind of a life, we want a certain thing in life, we want to be a certain somebody, we have to be willing to assess the cost and decide, are we going to pay that? Is it worth it? Some of us may look ahead and see what we want to have and be a little unsure of what it would take to get there. Maybe there's some questions there. Maybe don't have it all nailed down. Maybe some of us even look ahead and we see somebody else just seems to have this really magical life, and it might be sort of irritating because it seems like we struggle to just for this little bit, and they seem to have just walked right into everything. But there's a cost associated with living life in general. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight. That we have all kinds of hang-ups over this issue of cost. In fact, right now, even by me just using the word cost, some of you are like, man, Virginia, you are bringing me down. You're supposed to be encouraging me. You're talking about cost and expense and calculating things and figuring it out. And I don't want to hear, I want to hear good stuff. I want to hear happy stuff. And just hang on with me here a little bit, okay? So in Freedom, we keep it real, do we not? We tackle the tough issues, we go at things, and we're honest about it. So if you'll just stick with me throughout this topic, I promise you by the end of the night, you will be encouraged, and you'll have some things that you can take to live a better life. Because at the end of the day, it's not enough to just say, hey, I want a better life. I want better relationships. It's not enough to say, I want better habits. You have to be willing to take action to get those things. Otherwise, you're just holding a wishbone where a backbone is needed. Tonight, our talk assumes that you have a dream. Tonight, our talk assumes that there is a specific goal in mind, somewhere you want to go, a destination, a change you want to make, an improvement. Now, we're all at different places and different stages, without a doubt. Maybe you're in a place where you need a whole life makeover. Maybe you're like one of the reality TV shows, and you're like, man, just come and flatten everything out, I need to start all over again. Maybe you're stuck in just one specific area. You figured a few things out. Things are going well here and there, but there's just this one area that just really, you can't seem to get clear of it and get unstuck. We all must have a goal, a vision, a dream. We must. The Bible tells us if we don't have a vision, where there is no vision, people cast off restraint. And what does that mean? It just means you have no purpose, no plan. You're all over the place. You're not sure where to put your energy or where to put your time. And so my daughter got a vision for her financial state. All of a sudden she realized, oh, wait a second, I got to pay for all this stuff. I got to have a plan now. I can't just go pick whatever I want. I have to put some thought into it. And so she has guidelines that govern her spending and govern the process. And so wherever you are tonight, in your particular process, at whatever stage you are, if you have a goal, a dream, a destination, we're going to take a look at what it means to be willing to pay the cost of admission to that dream. And we're going to talk about different types of dreamers and how each of them deals with the cost of admission to living their dream. The first dreamer we're going to talk about, I call the naive dreamer. And the naive dreamer lives in fantasy land. The naive dreamer doesn't realize there's a cost involved with getting to where he or she wants to go. It never really has even stopped to consider what it would actually take to reach the dream. They just kind of think somehow it'll work out. It'll be all right. Somehow along the way, they'll flow into what it is that they really want in life. They think somehow it's just going to be okay, and they leave it to chance. They kind of flounder around. There's no real direction, no real plan. They know they want to reach this certain dream, but they're completely out of touch with the reality of what it would mean to show up and do the hard work to get that dream. Sometimes the naive dreamer even has this belief or this sort of entitled attitude that life or other people owe them the dream. So they're expecting that other people will just make it happen for them. And this kind of thinking is characterized by a lack of personal responsibility and personal accountability. And of course, this strategy is not at all effective. Leaving things to chance does not work out well. You shouldn't set out towards a dream without a plan any more than you would get in your car to go somewhere you've never gone before and not figure out exactly how to get there and check out the routes, the roads available to get there. This kind of dreamer, by the way, is fairly easy to spot. They're the ones that have been talking about changing and about doing something different for years, but they never actually get around to taking any meaningful action in that direction. Maybe even for decades, they've been saying the same things, and everybody's really clear on what it is they say they're going to do different. They have a dream, but they have nothing else. Oftentimes, they can end up bitter and angry at the world for what they see as the world not coming through for them and giving them what they feel they are owed. Because this dreamer is simply reacting to what life throws them instead of charting a course. In the end, this dreamer, you may find, if you know one or if you see yourself in this person, you may find they've lost hope, or they consistently show they feel themselves to be a victim of circumstance. They may even decide that they're powerless and give up altogether. In reality, they never applied their power to begin with. They never took their power and applied it to constructing a plan. They never asked what it would take to make this dream a reality. What are the costs associated with it? Not only has the naive dreamer not considered the cost of achieving their dream, they've not even come to the realization that their actions now have a cost. They've not looked at what their behavior is costing them now, and they've not looked at where exactly this will land them if they continue. And if you see yourself in this type of dreamer, one thing that you can do to kickstart yourself is just ask yourself, what one step could I do right now to take personal accountability and responsibility for where I am? Second, what could I do right here, right now, to take personal responsibility and accountability for taking one step towards my dream? The second kind of dreamer we're going to talk about tonight is someone I call the comfort zone dreamer. The comfort zone dreamer says, I want it, but I'm not willing to leave my comfort zone. They've purchased real estate in the comfort zone and they refuse to budge. And so for this dreamer, the cost of leaving his or her comfort zone is just too high a price to pay. You know, a ship is always safe in its harbor, but that's not what it was intended for. And you are not intended to remain in your comfort zone. You can have comfort or you can have change, but you cannot have both. This kind of dreamer wants change, but they don't want the discomfort of transition. They don't want the upheaval that change often brings. They want to stretch, but not to the point where it really hurts. If you could reach your dream from where you are right now, you would. So the fact that you can't says that you need to do something different and reach out from where you are. You have to leave your comfort zone and the safety, the predictability that's been thus far if you're going to get anywhere new. And this is a very difficult thing for some of us to do. In fact, some of us would rather stay in dysfunctional, toxic situations that we know because it's easier to deal with the evil that we're familiar with than to venture out into unknown territory where we're not really sure of what to expect. Consider this, though. In order for a seed to become what it is meant to be, everything about its former self must be destroyed. The seed bursts apart from the inside out. Everything that it is must change in order for it to be what it's intended to be. Everything about its former self is destroyed, but from it comes incredible life and beauty, and it reaches its full potential only at the cost of leaving its current space. It's uncomfortable to be in a position of leaving your comfort zone. At the worst, it's terrifying. It's terrifying to go into the unknown, to go where you've not gone before. When you desire to be more than you currently are, and when that desire exceeds your desire to remain where you are, you're ready for change. You're primed for growth, and you're ready to take action towards your dream. And a very common mistake that people make, a very common mistake of a comfort zone dreamer, is that they think they have to figure out how to deal with the fear first before moving forward, before going ahead. Do you know how to deal with fear? You don't. You stay so focused on moving, on taking the next step, on making the action happen, that you don't have time or energy to worry about feeling afraid. If you see yourself in this type of dreamer, here's what you must know. Sometimes the fear simply doesn't go away, and you're going to have to do that thing you know you have to do while feeling afraid. Practice doing small steps, small things, with the fear in place. Build on those successes. Remind yourself the next time what you've already accomplished while feeling afraid. Flex your faith muscles. The third kind of dreamer we're going to talk about tonight is a nearsighted dreamer. The nearsighted dreamer can only see exactly what's in front of them. They only see the slice of life that's just directly in front of them, and they can't see beyond it. For this type of dreamer, they're upset and frustrated very quickly when success isn't immediate, when it doesn't happen right away. They want success, they want it now. For this dreamer, the cost of time is too high a price to pay. Now, this type of dreamer is making good choices and they're doing the right thing. They're counting the cost and putting in hard work, but they're frustrated when immediate results don't happen. And it's really kind of funny if we think about this, because there's none of us in this room that would expect that if we were to do 50 sit-ups, that we would immediately have a magnificent six-pack, right? We know there are things that take time and that are a process. Maybe your goal is to get better financially, to be financially healthy. Well, getting a job doesn't automatically mean you know how to manage money, right? There are steps that have to be taken, and really it's honestly a mindset of understanding the value of persistence. And there are many people who will tell you that being a person who is persistent is more important than being a person of great talent. That success comes by being persistent, by doing the right things again and again and again and again. You know, it's kind of like being in a movie, you know, and you're in a scene and maybe you don't like it so much, and maybe it's not really quite up, and you want to just change it right away, really, really quickly, and it's just not moving fast enough. But things take process. The plot has to build up, characters have to get in place, storylines have to be developed. And you know, in my own personal life, I have seen so many times where a situation that I thought would never turn around, would never right itself, never go in the right direction. Over time, by doing the right things and being persistent in it, going at it again and again and again, do you know that over time that situation does change? It has changed. Persistence is so critical, especially for this type of dreamer. If you see yourself in this type of dreamer, if you're easily frustrated when success is not immediate, if it's a difficult thing for you to handle, here's some things you can do. First of all, you focus on doing the right things in both big and small ways with consistency, and develop different ways of measuring success. So for this kind of dreamer, celebrating small wins becomes extremely important in creating milestones along the way. The end goal will always be the end goal, but for this type of personality and for this kind of dreamer, it becomes really important to establish additional goals. Goals that are actually more in line with the process. So let me just give a general example. Let's say that your goal is to lose 35 pounds. That's a process. That's going to take a while. And if you're easily frustrated because you don't see results, then what needs to happen is there needs to be additional goals set that relate to the process. So a goal of working out 3 times a week is a great way to begin to celebrate small successes. A goal of taking the stairs every other time versus the elevator is a great way to set a small goal that can give you momentum and that you can actually celebrate. A goal of eating half of the piece of pie for dessert is a great way to set a smaller goal related to the process. And as you celebrate those things, that will build the momentum you need to keep you steady and strong until the eventual goal. And let me tell you what, you do the small things right, the big thing takes care of itself. It really, really does. We've got this big building out here. I know you guys see it when you come in. Those of you who attend Seven Hills, you know, we've sort of employed this process along the way of celebrating every little thing, right? We had beams come in. Whoa! Everybody's excited. All right, pouring concrete. Wow! So awesome. You would not believe the celebration that happened around here when we had the parking lot paved. That was crazy awesome. So what happens, we celebrate the smaller victories that all add up to be the big giant win. Okay? So for this kind of dreamer, if you see yourself in this person, in this type of dreamer, then you need to work really hard at identifying other goals within the larger goal that you can tackle and hit hard and celebrate those. Celebrate those. Those build the momentum that's necessary. The fourth kind of dreamer I'm going to talk to you about tonight is what I call the failure-phobic dreamer. He lives in a no failure allowed zone, otherwise known as the I must keep it together at all times zone. This is a very toxic zone, by the way. This dreamer is so afraid of failing that he or she avoids it at all costs, which means, of course, they don't get very far in the process of reaching their goal, because all successes stand on the shoulders of failure. This kind of dreamer sees failure as something to be ashamed of, so they either will not risk it or they hide it, creating a prison of internal shame and blame. This dreamer is missing the critical bit of information that lets us know our failures are grand opportunities for learning, and the bigger the mistake, the bigger the opportunity to learn, to improve. The bigger the failure, the more information there is to help us go better at it the next time. This kind of dreamer does not understand that failure is simply part of the process of becoming a success. So a man named Benjamin Zander, who was the conductor for the Philadelphia Philharmonic, and he tells this story of how he teaches his musicians and his students, when they make a mistake, to say, "How fascinating," to celebrate the fact that they have the creativity and the freedom to make mistakes and go back at it and practice. Now, can you imagine what sense it would make at all for a band of any type, musicians of any type, an orchestra of any type, to get together, everybody play, anybody that makes a mistake, they just drop their instrument and walk out? No, we don't go at life that way. Athletes don't go at life that way. Why do we hold these unrealistic expectations of ourselves? Everybody, all these different arenas we can look at and see that everybody needs practice, everybody needs to rehearse, everybody needs to learn how to hold the instrument this way, how to breathe, right? How to hold a basketball, how to jump at just the right moment, right? We all know this, so why are we holding ourselves to any other standard in any other area of our life? Failures provide us the information that we need to be a success. All of our success hinge on not us not failing, but on us being willing to learn from our failures, because failure is always part of the process. Always, 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 always. Did I say always? Failure is always part of the process. If you see yourself in this type of dreamer, know that many people also feel failure. It's very common. And a lot of people hide their mistakes, and that is the number one reason that they do not grow to be more than who they currently are. When faced with failure or even the prospect of failing, remind yourself you have an alternate way to deal with failure. You have a choice in how you cope with it and how you think about it, one that is completely compatible with success. With this new view, failure becomes your friend and your ally. Failure comes to help you succeed. Failure offers valuable insight into what it will take to get you where you want to go. As a matter of fact, failure is essential to you becoming the person you most want to be. Determine you will learn from your failures. Determine you are withdrawing from the shame and blame game and moving on to the how can I do this better next time game. It's much more productive, it's much more fun, it's much more life-giving and empowering. Have a plan ahead of time for how you will deal with failures, both large and small, general and specific. Engage the help of mentors. Go to people who have succeeded in doing what it is you want to do. Connect to some people who have had huge successes, who have had giant accomplishments. Ask them about the giant failures that paved the way for those giant successes to happen, because I promise you, they're there. The next type of dreamer, the fifth kind of dreamer we're going to talk about tonight, is the I don't have what it takes dreamer. This dreamer lives in a land of crippling insecurity. This dreamer doesn't see her or himself as capable of achieving the dream. It may even decide that he's only meant to just watch from the outside, to just sit on the sidelines. Much of this comes from comparison, from comparing ourselves to others. You know, I'm not funny. I'm not a funny person. Most of the time when I make a joke, I get blank stares back. It's really awkward. It's really bad. I'm horrible at small talk. I hate small talk. I freeze when people want to do small talk, and I'm absolutely blown away by people who have that gift. You guys know what I'm talking about, the kind of person that can make a friend with a lamppost and the lamppost likes it, right? That used to bother me so bad. Why can't I be better in these social situations? Why can't I be brighter, funnier, friendlier? You know what I realized? Maybe I'm not gifted with small talk, but if you're in a crisis and you're broken and you're needing encouragement, I'm your gal. I'm your person. I learned to be good with who I was and to be good with who they were. So important that we realize that. The danger of comparison, what that actually does. The danger of comparison is that we actually minimize and devalue who we are in our gifts. You know, I used to worry about fitting in, and then I stopped one day to consider that maybe I wasn't meant to fit in. Maybe I was meant to carve out a space for other people to belong. And it's a really important distinction. And if we're not careful, the energy and time we devote wishing we were somebody else and looking at how somebody else handles things and looking at the gift somebody else has will absolutely rob us of the opportunity to broaden who we are. It will rob us of the opportunity to have the impact we were meant to have with the gifts that we have. I've got a story I'd like to share with you tonight. Just take a few minutes. It's one of my favorite stories. This woman is one of my actual personal heroes, and her name is Corrie ten Boom. She's no longer alive, but she was a woman that was a hero, very heroic, during World War II. Her father was a watchmaker, and in fact, in Holland, where she lived, she became the first woman to ever become a watchmaker. In 1940, everything changed. World War II was going on, and the Nazis began to make their way through her country. And this woman, Corrie ten Boom, had always had a heart to serve her community, had offered food and clothing and shelter to people in need, and now when the Nazis came through, she realized that she had to do something. And what she did was use the fact that her watch shop often had customers coming through as a way to get people in to save them, to literally save their lives. And she built a small room behind a fake wall in her own bedroom that could fit just 6 people side by side to hide and shelter them from the Nazis. There was a buzzer system set up when the soldiers would be coming through the streets that everyone would know to get to that room. Over time, 800 people came through that home and were saved from concentration camps and death. You know, the reason I love that story is because here she was, a watchmaker, and a woman at that. She could have looked at the situation going on and think, there's nothing I can do. I'm not a military person. I'm not extremely wealthy. I'm not a government official. This huge tragedy was happening, and it was horrific, and it was awful. And instead of looking at all the things she didn't have and all the ways she couldn't make a difference, she used who she was and the life she already had to just push forward and do what needed to be done. And I wear this watch pendant a lot to remind me of that story, to remind me to quit looking at what I don't have and use what I do have. 800 people owed their lives to her. You know, eventually she and her family were betrayed. Someone turned them in. There were 6 people hiding in a little room when the Nazi soldiers came and took her and her family. They never did find those 6. Those 6 made it out. But Corrie and her father and her sister were all sent immediately to a concentration camp, and her father and sister died not too much longer after that. 1 week before she was to be executed, they mistakenly released her. It was a paperwork error. She got out, went right back to doing what she'd been doing, giving people shelter and refuge. Even after the war, she continued to be about helping people with what she had. And she opened refuges and placed safe houses for people who had been displaced by the war, including those who had supported the Nazis. She said it was not up to her to decide who to forgive and who not to forgive. It was just her job to love. 800 people owed their lives to her deciding to do what she could with what she had, and she went on to impact thousands, if not millions of people through her life story. She had a quote. She said, "The worst can happen, but the best remains." And I often think about what would have been different in those 800 people's lives and everyone past that point that she reached if she had simply said, "I'm not capable, I'm not adequate, there's somebody that could do a better job, it's not up to me, I don't have enough." Her reach expanded far more than she ever thought it could, I am sure, by her simply doing what she could with what she had. If you see yourself in this type of dreamer, in the "I don't have what it takes" dreamer, decide to chase that thing down anyway. Be so busy using what you do have, you don't have time to think about what you don't have. Quit worrying about the obstacles. Quit worrying about the size of the storm. Stop fearing the storm. Decide to be the storm. We often underestimate our power and our strengths and our abilities, and it's not until we simply decide to be who we are to the best of our ability that we come into contact with that. I'm often convinced that sometimes why God allows obstacles to hit our paths. He's trying to help us understand He created us to be much stronger, much more resourceful, with much more capability than we ever imagined. Sometimes we experience insecurity and feel inadequate because we think we have to be able to reach right now, to do right now exactly what it is we need to do, that we need to have it all figured out, and that's not the case. In reality, there's often a long process that's involved. There's things to work out, and I think about Corrie and deciding how I want to do something. She couldn't rescue thousands of people. She couldn't overthrow the army that was marching through, but she could build a little room in her bedroom. She could do what she could. She could understand that the eventual goal of stopping this atrocity might be beyond her reach, but she could do something, and she went for it. We reach outside of who we are, use what we have, we grow. We may not be ready right now to get where we want to get, but we are ready for the next step. We can take the next step. When we're faced with new challenges, we're often forced to pull from within us what is needed or to reach out to others to get what is needed. And neither one of those things are bad things. Neither one of those. If you are a "I don't have what it takes" dreamer, if you see yourself in that, engage the support of other people. Think about marathon runners and the lines of people with the cold water and the Gatorade and everything else along the way. Get some other people in your corner to encourage you. Get in healthy community. Get around people who know what it feels like to face the battle you're fighting. In fact, that's what Freedom Night's all about. That's what this environment is. We're all in this together. My hiccups and my hang-ups might not look like your hiccups and your hang-ups, but we all know what it feels like to struggle against something. We all know what it feels like to have an opponent that seems to be larger than we are. We all know what it feels like to feel afraid. We all know what that is like, and so together we can find strength. Together we can support and encourage each other. Absolutely. Get around people that can hold us accountable. Tell us when we're doing a good job. Call us when we miss it, but always in love. There's something else we have to realize if we're going to head out towards our dreams, if we're going to decide to quit fearing the storm and be the storm. There's something else very critical we have to acknowledge, we have to know. We do need community, and we do need each other, and we do need support, and we do need to encourage each other. We cannot do it on our own, that is true. But there does come a place and time in everyone's journey where we are required to take action. We are required to do the right things, the hard things, when no one else is watching and no one else is around. There's a place in every walk, in every battle, when how badly we desire a good thing can be measured by our willingness to pursue it when no one is cheering, when no one is applauding, and when no one is patting us on the back. In those moments, you have to show up for yourself. You have to encourage yourself. You have to decide, I'm worth the investment of doing the right thing right here, right now. I'm worth supporting. You must celebrate right decisions, even if there's no one else there to celebrate them with you. It is one of the most difficult things to do, but is often in the moments of complete anonymity, when we are making right decisions with no fanfare, no camera lights, no interview news story at 6, no parties thrown in our honor. It's often in those quiet moments of solitude when we choose to do the right thing because it is the right thing that the character it takes to reach our goals and our dreams emerges. In those moments, we decide who we are trumps what we are doing, what we have done thus far. And we decide that we are of greater significance than any obstacle we have faced. Those moments of silence when no one else is around and no one is celebrating can be some of the hardest. There may be times that come that you feel like no one really cares if I make it or not. I've done the right thing and done the right thing and done the right thing. What you don't understand is in those moments when you decide you are worth making the right decision, that is the moment that you align yourself with miracles. That is the moment when you choose that you're going to be who it is you want to be, regardless of who else is around to support you, that you actually are at the strength you need to be at to be that person. It's not hard to do the right thing when there are people around applauding for it. It's not hard to do the right thing when there's a lot of people surrounding you. It's extremely difficult when it seems that no one cares. Those are the moments we must decide to invest in ourselves, that we are worth it. We deserve someone like us to believe in us. The last type of dreamer that I'm going to talk about tonight in closing is called the wholehearted dreamer. That's what I've called it. This kind of dreamer gives everything they have with absolutely no assurance of success. They learn to love not just who they are, but who they aren't. They choose to engage in relationships that are healthy. They choose to engage in relationships that are healthy. They protect their dreams. They know that life is much more about the choices they make in the journey than the destination they've selected. They don't buy into shame. They don't buy into powerlessness or perfectionism. They do love unashamedly, unconditionally. They speak their truth, even if their voice is shaking when they do it. They make the conscious choice to live bravely rather than to live perfectly. Living the life you want, being the person you know you were created to be is absolutely possible. It starts with counting the cost and making up your mind. You will do what it takes to make that dream a reality. You show up, do the hard work, get in community, healthy community. Learn from your mistakes. Be your own best encourager. Celebrate the little wins. Know who you are is much bigger than where you are. Never forget the dream that was put inside of you was etched there by God Himself. You have the dream because He gave it to you. And if He gave it to you, He must believe you have what it takes to reach it. The Bible tells us when God is for us, who can be against us? Please notice it didn't say if God is for us, you will not struggle. If God is for us, we won't fall down. If God is for us, we won't experience loss. God is for us, we'll never be disappointed. No. It simply promises us there's nothing that can beat us in the end. There's a verse that says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I think it's just so critically important we learn to understand we were created with a dream, we were created with purpose, we have a reason for being here. And it's going to require that we step up and evaluate the costs, and it's going to require that we understand we can do it through Christ's strength, that he's created us with that ability. When we align ourselves with how he thinks of us, we're unstoppable. We're undefeatable. There's nothing we can't accomplish. Every head bowed and every eye closed. If you're here tonight and you've got a dream, I don't know what it might be. It might be a really grand dream. It might be a really small dream. But you've been struggling and you've been doubting and you've been wondering, man, is this even really worth it? Maybe I'm just meant to sit on the sidelines. Maybe I'm just not cut out to be a success. And if that's you tonight and you would look to me tonight to say, Virginia, man, I need some encouragement. I need some help. I need some support. With nobody looking around, I'd like you to raise your hand, and I will commit to praying for you throughout this week, that God will renew that energy and that courage within you. That dream will come alive, the energy to reach it, the faith to go there. Maybe it's a relationship that needs to end. Maybe it's a relationship that needs to begin. There are many different reasons why we can struggle and feel discouraged. We've covered some things tonight, some common things, but please understand it is through Christ's strength that we can do all things. And if you've got him on your side and you're willing to count the cost and you're willing to do what it takes, you can get where it is you want to get. And I've just got one more question tonight. If you're here tonight and you don't have Jesus as your Savior, you don't have a relationship with Christ, and you're saying, well, that's a nice verse, that's a nice sentiment, but I don't really have, I'm not really sure even if God really knows that I'm around, or if I am, he's probably kind of upset with me. I'm really unsure where my relationship with Jesus is. If that's you tonight and you want a relationship with Jesus and you want to know that he is with you and for you and have him as your constant friend and companion, I want you to raise your hand. I've got some friends that are going to put a card in your hand. We're going to pray a prayer together. If you've never received Jesus as your Savior, and you want to do that tonight, please raise your hand. So I see that hand. The Bible is very clear that the cost for our salvation has already been paid. We've talked tonight about there being a cost associated with things. That price has already been paid. His grace covers all. The Bible says he forgives our sins and casts them as far as the east is from the west and remembers them no more. It's that simple. He paid it. He did it. You don't have to do anything but accept him into your life. Anybody else? We're going to wait a few more seconds. You don't know where you stand with God. You're really not sure. All right, can we all pray with those who raise their hands tonight? Jesus, I accept you into my heart and into my life. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your forgiveness. Thank you for your unconditional love. I accept your gift of salvation, and I choose to believe I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Those of you who raised your hand that you've got a dream and you're struggling, I may not know your name. Some of you I do, but I will be praying for you daily, as will my interns and other staff, prayer partners. This is a community where you are supported and you are encouraged and you are loved. You are highly valued. And can I just say that we all struggle at some point in time? We all need encouragement. We all need to link arms sometimes. What was that game, Red Rover, right? When you're a kid, is that right? You link arms? I was horrible at it, so I probably blocked out the whole thing. But we have to do that sometimes, do we not? We need to join arms. We need to stand beside each other and support each other. thank you guys so much for being here tonight. I want to remind you again, next Friday, 6:45, doors open. We're going to have a fantastic time. The 30th, I'm so sorry. I know I probably should have Kleenex out next time. No Freedom Night, but when we come back on October 7th, Jason the Great will be here, and you guys will love him. I promise you. Promise you. Thanks so much, guys. Love you. Be blessed.